Get like the car on here, man. 65. Yeah.
I can ride my bike with no handlebars.
Greetings, moto guys and moto gals, and welcome back to the 333. The 2023 riding season continues. Back in the Pine Barrens on the mule after a couple big forest fires back here. Last couple weekends we've had a couple bad fires, and I was going to try and get out last weekend, but it was actually pretty bad back here from what I could see online. They had gotten fires extinguished or controlled, but there was still a lot of smoke floating around, a lot of forestry trucks all over the place, and I could tell just coming out today, the forestry service trucks have just torn everything up back here on the fire roads and everything. You know, can't blame them. They're doing their job, and they're a pretty awesome group of people that work back in the protected lands back here. Oh, nice bit of water out here today. Right. You know, with the fires that were taking place and a couple other things that I've seen kind of online, I thought a good topic to talk about. I've kind of talked about this topic a little bit in the past, more from the perspective of riding skills and riding gear and bike protection. But I wanted to talk about the hidden or sort of unexpected dangers of adventure riding. I think the reason I was, like I said, the reason I was kind of motivated to do this topic was for a couple reasons. Number one, was the forest fires that were back here, the brush fires, which are, off-road we go, which are, one of the dangers for sure if you're coming off-road. It's easy to get caught back in the middle of that stuff, especially if there's, it could be like just the Forest Service doing their job back here, and you come down a fire road and you run into a bunch of trucks that you're not planning on, and a bunch of rutted out, because they're digging in. They got big 4x4, firefighting trucks that just dig the crap out of these fire roads, and all of a sudden, a road that you're familiar with all of a sudden has a giant mound of sand in the middle of it and a rut that you weren't expecting. I think the other thing that sort of, gave me a little bit of motivation to do this topic was, I want to give a shout out to another small vlogger. His channel is called The Bearded Grump. He's got a pretty nice setup Suzuki V-Strom, and a couple weeks ago I was pretty shocked. I was looking at his channel. I'll check him out every now and then. He's a fairly new adventure rider, but he takes on pretty challenging rides down in Florida. Florida is super sandy and super swampy, and he and his buddies get right into it, man. So they don't, I give him a lot of credit for, being a relatively new adventure rider, and he takes on pretty challenging rides. But a couple weeks ago, it was him. I don't know who was all on the ride. It looked like him, another friend, and I think maybe his brother. Well, it was his brother, because his brother got bit by a poisonous snake. That's pretty serious shit, man. Like if a poisonous snake gets you. I think they had set up their camp. I think the guy went down, they were near a body of water. The guy went down to the water to kind of wash his hands, rinse his hands off like any of us probably would do. And a snake got him. It was pretty dry up to this point back here. They must have really got a lot of rain back in this area. Yeah, because this is a relatively small mud hole here, and this one's like filled up. This one never has water in it, so we got a lot of rain. Oh yeah, look at this. Oh yeah. I know this is pretty shallow here. This shouldn't be too bad. Oh yeah. Right. When I saw that, I was like, yeah, it's pretty freaking dangerous, man. Like there's elements of adventure riding and getting off-road and getting into remote areas, especially if you've not done it, or maybe you've done it, maybe you used to dirt bike ride when you were a kid a little bit, and you haven't done it as an adult. Like, there's some pretty, you know, gnarly shit back here that has nothing to do with riding or your bike. You know what I mean? I mean, some of it is related to riding. The way you interact with the environment back here can definitely be related to, you know, some dangerous shit. But most of it is kind of stuff that's going to be like out of your control. You know what I mean? Wild animals, you know, even shit like weather, lightning, you know, dramatic, depending on where you live, dramatic shifts in temperature. Oh, I got to dig in a little bit here. Yeah, nice and goopy out here today. Nice. I'll talk about the Pine Barrens a bit, kind of show it on the map, like where it is, and I want to talk more specifically about, you know, what you're not supposed to do back here, which is part of the reason, you know, again, getting to my topic of unexpected dangers. It's a lot of the reasons why people get into trouble back here. You know what I mean? They come back here, they underestimate the environment, they overestimate their skills, and they get themselves in trouble. And I'm gonna fess up right now, and those of you who've been following my channel know that the second week I bought the T7, the mule, I did the same thing. I came out here with street bias tires. I didn't have a good toolkit. I didn't have a good emergency set. I was wearing my street gear. I completely underestimated what the potential was back here. And for the most part, you know, I stick to stuff kind of like this. So I've gotten some level of confidence riding in the sand, riding in some sketchy stuff, you know, mud holes, cutting through some single double track when I have to, but nothing too crazy technical, right? But what I'm seeing a lot is, I'm seeing a lot of people, you know, kind of repeating the mistake that I made when I first started. So, you know, it's another case of me saying, do as I say, not as I did, because I kind of made the mistake for you. Whoa, little dabby, nice. I'll take a save. All right, so now that I almost ended up on my ass, you know, this environment, for lack of a better description, is basically a desert with pine trees. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's super sandy. I mean, you guys have seen it from my video posts, and even just, you know, 2 seconds ago where I almost bit it. There's this sugar sand everywhere back here. Wow, okay, this is washed out in a big time. Whew, look at this. Do I want to go through here? I don't know. Let me see. But yeah, this is probably a good break to kind of stop here and kind of talk about what I'm talking about in the environment. So, yeah, I'm kind of back in the middle of it. This is Brendan Byrne State Park. So there's about 4 different protected land areas in the Pine Barrens. There's the Brendan Byrne State Park. There's Bass River. There is Wharton State Forest. And there's an area south kind of towards the Jersey Shore called Belle Plaine. So they're all sort of protected, you know, wildlife areas. What I learned from 3 years of riding in the Pine Barrens is that there are an extensive number of dangerous animals back here. They generally are pretty shy from humans, but if you cross paths with one inadvertently, which is very possible and usually how it happens, you know, they can mess your day up, right? So we have absolutely a species of rattlesnake that lives back here. I think they're called the timber rattlesnake. Some poisonous water snakes, probably not in this area, more where there's bodies of water at, lakes. There's a variety of fucking nasty insects in the Pine Barrens, really nasty insects that I never realized until I started kind of learning about it. So we have the biggest culprit, and the biggest one that kind of screws people up a lot is the deer tick, right? So there's tons of deer in the Pine Barrens. Literally, if I walk 5 feet off of here to take a piss, I'll probably come back with a bunch of ticks on my pants leg. I don't know how people camp in here. I don't think people really do. They go to campsites, but it's just infested with ticks. Yeah, so definitely not something you want to mess around with. The other insects that are native to the Pine Barrens that are also nasty, black widow spider is native to the Pine Barrens, pretty nasty, generally pretty shy again. We have another insect that's actually a really good insect, but kind of gnarly, and it's called the assassin bug. And I'll put a picture of that guy up here. I actually kind of like this bug because It's a direct predator of the Asian lanternfly, the Chinese lanternfly. We've gotten inundated with lanternflies on the East Coast, and this guy is the one that chews them up. So he's a good guy, but he's a nasty dude, right? So if you're, let's say you pull your bike over, you got to sit down on a stump or something, and you would inadvertently touch one of these things or tangle up with one of them, he's got a really nasty, it's not even a stinger, it's like a stabbing tool on his face that he stabs his prey with, and he'll go right after you with it. And I've read stories about people that have gotten nasty bites from assassin bugs. Definitely not something to mess with. You know, very native to this area, and they're, you know, again, hard to see. They camouflage it with the pine. You could go and touch a pine tree, and all of a sudden, whoop, there's a you know, assassin bug on it. You get stung or bit. We have these, they call them velvet ants. Sometimes you'll see them. Probably not so much here. They're actually kind of cool. They're red and black, and they do look like velvet. They've also got the moniker cow killer. So they're actually a species of wingless wasp. Again, another nice surprise for the Pine Barrens. People will come out, they'll see this beautiful red and black. They think it's an ant. They'll go to pick it up, and they just get the shit stung out of them by a cow killer. So not a bug you want to mess with. The other one that's really gnarly that I have had a little bit of a run-in with back here is the cicada wasp. So every season towards the end of the summer, all in the Northeast, when you come back here, the broods of cicada will start coming out of the ground. So you'll see like mounds where the cicadas come out. And along with the cicadas are the cicada wasps. They're the predator of the cicada, and they kind of keep them in control. What they actually do is they'll grab a live cicada, drag it into their den, and then they'll lay their eggs in it, and that's how their young feed through the winter and then hatch in the, you know, the summer. So again, they typically don't want to be bothered with human beings. They're doing their thing, they're hunting cicadas, but if you're flying down a fire road, and these things are big too, they're like these big wasps, you can run right into one, and it could get tangled up with you, get caught in your gear, and it'll just start stinging the shit out of you. And they just keep stinging too. They don't die after the first sting. So it's just like any wasp, except they're like a monster-sized wasp, you know. So you have to be really like knowledgeable and have to have, you know, not be fearful, but have an understanding that anything you could touch could have something venomous on it. Anywhere you step could, you know, load you up with ticks. You could be stepping on a snake. You just have to have that consciousness all the time. I'm very respectful of this environment. I don't go venturing back there. But again, sort of an unexpected, you know, unplanned danger, right? Most people don't think about it. Most people don't want to think about it, but it's a thing nonetheless. Let's do it. Yeah. Like getting in second gear when I can. A little dab will do you. Oh, all right. Okay, get through that. So yeah, so those are the bugs and the creepy crawlies. The other animals that pose a, you know, not so much a direct threat, but kind of a threat. Deer are always a problem back here because you know how deer are. They will just kind of launch themselves out of nowhere, and they don't get too crazy until the rut season. So for any of you who don't live in a deer area, you get this nice fun adventure every fall called the deer rut, where the male deer get super aggressive and they want to mate, and so they're looking for females constantly, and they just like chase them through the forest recklessly. Oh yeah. Oh, I guess we're going for it. Yeah, wrong gear. Good old Tenere. That was the wrong way to go through there, but I was kind of committed to the sand at that point. One thing that sounds a little gnarly, but does happen on occasion, especially if you get on tighter trails, and you could have a really sharp broken tree limb that's sticking out. It can easily cause a big gash on your leg. It could easily catch you like in the groin. you know, I mean, I do carry, as kind of macabre as it sounds, I carry a first aid kit that has, you know, the basic first aid stuff for wound treatment. So I have, you know, bandages, tape, antiseptic. I keep a little bit of backup food in my emergency pack. But the one thing that's kind of unusual, but I think all riders should carry with them, is a mini tourniquet. I've worked for a long time with doctors in my career. I work in technology, but the people I work with are all physicians. And so every couple of years, all the staff of where I work, we recertify both in CPR and the Stop the Bleed training, which I would highly recommend if you have the opportunity. I know a couple people that follow my vlog also work in healthcare, so you have the opportunity to do that. You probably do it anyway. But the Stop the Bleed training is very good, and it's very relevant to riding off-road. You know, hopefully that doesn't ever happen, but you know, like those things, you know, they don't happen planned. It's not like you see it coming and it's telegraphed. It's you know, it happens very suddenly and unexpectedly. So if it does, you want to at least have the stuff with you to be prepared for that. So there's definitely, I mean, with thousands of acres of protected land, and that, you know, hundreds of miles of these dirt forest roads and fire roads, you're definitely going to get into pockets and areas back here that have no cellular coverage, and that's a danger as well, right? So what a lot of adventure riders are starting to carry is kind of these pocket GPS sort of SOS devices. So I know the big one that's gotten a lot of chatter in all the forum groups and the Facebook groups is the Garmin Insight. I don't think you want to end up spending your night in here, you know? So kind of makes that $300 kind of worth it, I think. I don't know. I haven't bought one yet, but I'm kind of thinking about it. This is a cool road, but it can be a little bit challenging. So there's some areas with sugar sand on it. This is what I'm talking about in the ruts. So you got pine trees right up against this. If you get into kind of a sandy rut and you start working your way through it, there's not a lot of room for your bike to go off on its own before it hits a tree. So, you know, again, sort of a little bit of an unexpected danger, especially if you've never ridden on, you know, sort of double track like this, that is kind of encased by trees. You know, like these areas have some heavy sand. You can see like the ruts are pretty tight. I've got to get back over my bike. I'm going through kind of this heavy sugar sand, and right to the right of me there's plenty of pine trees that are just waiting to take a bite, man. Squeeze with your knees. That's one thing that I kind of forgot to mention in my last video. When you're standing, you should definitely be squeezing with your knees. Squeeze the bike with your knees. It gives you that kind of lateral control. Helps a lot in loosey-goosey stuff. Some whoop-de-doos. Yeah. All right. Yeah, so I think we've covered a lot of the big dangers, the big sort of unexpected dangers that are out here. There's quite a few when you sort of compound them all. Wow, look at this. Like this. Yeah, that's a big water hole. Well, that's not one you want to ride through. Maybe on a Jeep, but not on a bike. Pretty deep. Pretty fucking deep. Don't think I'm getting through you, but I could get through that way. No shame in walking, I guess. But yeah, there's like a tree that came down. That's I guess that's the normal out. Whew. Would have been nice to ride through there, but that was kind of dicey. So, you know, I mean, I guess that's kind of an example of a dangerous situation where you have to make a judgment. You never want to plow through those big, deep mud holes on, you know, not knowing what you're going into. You get yourself into a lot of trouble there. So, you know, nothing wrong with occasionally walking the bike when you're first learning a trail. All right, let's see what we got here. I got a nice set of whoops. That's fun. Woo! Hello. Nice. Wow, that was a tough one. That was a toughie. But I guess you have to challenge yourself every now and then, right? And this is the Washington Turnpike where we can rip. You can rip pretty fast on here. I mean, I could probably get up to 60 safely on here. Let's see, I don't know how fast I've ever gotten on here. So I'm up to 60. Get like the car on here, man. 65. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can motor pretty fast on here. It's pretty hard pack. It's gravelly. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. So that's it. So yeah, so, you know, adventure riding's awesome. If you prepare right, if you practice right, you know, use common sense, use good judgment, you'll have a good experience. So that's pretty much it for this vlog post. Hope everybody rides safely, enjoy your summer, get out on your adventure bikes, and stay safe. Watch out for those crazy animals out there.